Hey, what's going on, everybody? David here, and welcome back to another video. With it being Halloween season, I figured, now would be a good time as any to go ahead and showcase some of my favorite horror movies that I love. And there's tons, and I could go on and on about it, but this is at least some of the ones that I really love and will watch constantly. Now, if you're interested in any more recommendations or anything like that, let me know in the comments, and I will be sure to do another video just like this one. First up, we have Creepshow 2. Creepshow, I love horror anthology movies just all together, like all around. Creepshow 2, though, is probably one of my favorites. It does have some of the best stories, I think, in there. The Raft being one of my favorites. I think the Hitchhiker is also another favorite in here as well, but super good. And part 3, I think I watched, and I wasn't really a fan of the show, though. However, it was a Shudder, I think, original show, and I loved the show. It still had the same like vibe as Creepshow, as the original first 2 movies anyway. But fantastic. I love Creepshow so much. Like, it's so good. And I will put links down in the comments below, or down in the description, if you guys want to pick up any of these. But fantastic. This is one huge recommendation for me. I love Creepshow 2 out of all of them. Fantastic. Next up, we're going to kind of go through these real quick because I've already unboxed a whole bunch of these at this point, but obviously I have to showcase this guy, Pennywise. So I think they did a great reboot of this movie. I love the other one, the original one, and it was super creepy, but this one took it up to a 10. If the other one, I would say maybe the other one was like a 6 or 7. This one's like a 10, 12, 14, I don't know, 15. They did so good with rebooting this franchise, I guess, this movie. And this one, the only reason that I say this one as opposed to putting them both together in Chapter 2, I think even though I really do like the second one, the first one really knocks it out of the park. I don't know how you guys feel about this. Let me know in the comments below. But really good, fantastic movie. I mean, just look at him right there. How creepy he is. I mean, so good. Really good. They did a great job at that. Just that intro scene, where kid is going down, the sewer and sees him for the first time. That is pretty epic. Even my son has not even watched it, because it freaks him out, which I would not let him see it anyway. But he's seen like a little, small little clip of it, and he's like, nope, I don't want to see that. I'm good. Next up, we have a cool documentary, which there's some out there that really get me, and I love really much, like so much. This one is one of them, and it's Never Sleep Again. This is the documentary for Nightmare on Elm Street, and I've seen a couple of different small documentaries on Nightmare on Elm Street. This one takes the cake. It really, it showcases every single movie in depth, and I was very impressed and very enthralled with watching it all the way through. Like, it's one of those where you want to keep listening, keep going, give me more information, because it's that damn good. And this is one that I will watch every so often, and watch it all the way through. But fantastic. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. It's probably one of my favorite horror franchises of all times, and this one does great at going into what it took to make every movie, or what happened behind the scenes, or if there was issues, things like that. Fantastic documentary right here. Like I said, you probably won't find a better one unless they make another one at some point, but this is really, really, really one of the best. Next up, we have a cool, really, I don't have a lot of David Cronenberg movies, but this is probably one of my favorites and one of the weirdest and craziest, and that's Videodrome. And this is the Criterion Collection one. God, like, it's hard to explain how crazy it is. Like, I would, I guess if I had to say anything, like, I would just be like, look it up, look up clips of Videodrome. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And just because it's so weird and crazy, that makes it one of my favorites. Like, I'll say that I don't know if that says a lot about me or not, but this is so cool. And then I think the coolest thing was that it also, like, so it has a slipcase, and it does look like a tape, like a tape from like a newsroom kind of thing. You see there, so that's really cool. Like, there's not really too much, and it says long live the new flesh. So yeah, I mean, this is one of those movies that I will say you have to see it for yourself to to get what's going on in it, but super good. I think one of my favorite acquisitions in my horror collection kind of thing. It's probably, again, one of the weirdest, one of the craziest that I'll watch from time to time. And I don't know, I showed it to my wife once, and she was very much like, yeah, don't show me that again. Like, I don't want to see that again. Once is enough. Next up is another horror anthology that I love. Again, I love horror anthologies just because filmmakers are able to be creative and do something that's maybe out of the box that wouldn't be able to be done in a feature film. And that's the thing that kind of gets me, that interests me, that I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what can you do? And then sometimes those little shorts that they have in an anthology sprout out and get them to go and direct, like, freaking Kong Skull Island or something like that. Like, I just like big features, just because of a small short, or they can expand on the small short. So that's why I love horror anthologies. Next up is VHS. This is the first one, and it's so good. Like, this is essentially, it's like, there's, my favorite ones are horror anthologies that have like a wraparound story. So this one essentially has a wraparound story where there's this like haunted VHS tape, and they pop it in, and you're seeing these shorts, these other stories happen. This one has so many good ones. They have 3 or 4, I think now, VHS movies. This is one of the best ones. I think this one and the second one were my favorite, even though I really do like all of them altogether. But this is another recommendation altogether. If you've never seen it, check this out. So good. Sometimes you have some weird ones here and there, but altogether, one of the best horror anthologies out there that I've seen in recent years. Next up, we have another horror anthology movie, and this one was a little, like, I was kind of skeptical about it, because I was like, well, how much can you do with this movie? And that's the ABCs of Death. And this is very, very interesting, because they literally go through the ABCs. And each letter is a short film. And it could be like super small, super short. And then some of them are a little bit longer, but the creativity that I think that they gave all these directors a letter, and they said, like, do something with it. And I think that kind of filmmaking is essentially what we need, in the world. Like, that's really cool. And they could even do something like this, just, I was gonna say romantic comedies or something like that. But I mean, what I guess, if you know what I'm saying, it's like, just, okay, I'm gonna give you the letter T. Go make a movie starting with T, or the theme, something theme wise with the letter T, like that kind of thing. Like, I think that's really, really interesting and unique, and we don't see that very often. So this is one of those where I was like, wow, like, this is again, just like the VHS movies. Some are better than others, and some are really, really out there, like left field. But I think the from a creative standpoint, this is probably one of the coolest anthologies out there as well. Really, really cool. Next up, we have a remake of one of my favorite zombie movies, and I'm a huge fan of Tom Savini. He's probably one of my favorite special effects artists out there, and I studied his work for so long. And then when I remember being younger and then hearing that he was doing a remake of Night of the Living Dead, I was like, okay, I gotta watch that. And this is the remake. This is on DVD. I don't know if they have. I don't know. I don't even know if they have a Blu-ray version. I'm sure that they do, probably. But I have it on DVD. I haven't upgraded yet to a Blu-ray. But one of my favorite remakes of Night of the Living Dead. I know Night of the Living Dead has been remade and redone so many times, just because it's what do they call it, like public, like open source. I can't remember the term, but I'm sure everybody will tell me in the comments. But but you guys know what I mean. But this one was supremely done so well, and probably one of my favorite remakes of this movie, or versions of this movie as well. So good, and the effects were there, just because, I mean, obviously Tom Savini's directing it. You got to have, the special effects, like, on point, but so good. How many of you guys have seen this? Let me know in the comments. I'm sure a lot of people have. And it's, like I said, to this day, one of my favorites. I remember it used to come on every Halloween during the Joe Bob Briggs days, the Monster Vision and stuff like that. I used to love watching that. It was so good. Next up is another zombie movie, because again, I'm I'm a zombie lover, I guess you could say, and that's the Ultimate Edition of Dawn of the Dead. And this is probably one of my favorites, just because this was the big box set that I had gotten when it came out on DVD, and I never got rid of it. I always held it, just for the simple fact, and they do have a 4K now that's out there that has all the versions of it as well. And this was the reason, like, I was like, okay, I have to have every single version of this film. There's the Argento cut, and let me see, there's the extended version, US version, the European version, and looks like it's documentaries, but it was like this huge, like, freaking thing. I was like, okay, I have to have that, and I have to keep it in my collection, even if they do have a new one. But it was the coolest thing to see the European version, which is the Argento cut. I think it was titled Zombie, and just to see Argento's version of the film, which I think that it was extended a bit more and stuff like, and there was a little bit more gore and stuff like that in it, which again, Argento, man, that dude's a legend. So Dario Argento, if you guys don't know who he is, I urge you to look up just his filmography and go down the line. I love it. I love Argento so much. Next up, we have a unique film. It's a modern film that kind of, like, this is probably one of the first, or not the first, but it was unique enough to grab my attention in I guess recent years, just because it was unique, and it's hard. It gets harder and harder to find a unique premise that people can get like attached to, and stuff like that, without possibly being like, well, it's based on this and whatever. And that's A Quiet Place. Like, I love this movie. I still remember when it first came out, I was kind of floored by it, because I was like, I've never seen anything like that before in my life. And it's directed by John Krasinski. Like, who would have thought, like, the dude from The Office, like, would write and direct, like, a horror movie that was so damn good. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird to say that out loud, but it really was so damn good. And the steelbook is really great as well, because it has like the debossing there, like scratches, and that's one of my favorite things about it, and a dent when I dropped it. But yeah, I mean, probably one of the coolest horror movies, creature features in modern years. And yeah, like, it's so good. Next up, we have a video game adaptation that typically, you say video game adaptation, it's like, okay, like, what? Like, they're always horrible. This is probably one of the best. It's not perfect, but one of my favorites, and that is Silent Hill. One of my favorite horror video game adaptations of all time. Probably, I think, even better than Resident Evil. I don't even, you know what? No, it is better than Resident Evil. It's not even a probably. So good. They did a great job at making this movie and making it feel like Silent Hill. Sometimes they whenever you make a video game adaptation, or even if it's horror based, it's more like, well, we want action though. This had it all, and it was really good, and it made you feel like panicky, like you were in Silent Hill. The story was great, I thought, again, one of my all-time favorites that I will rewatch probably a couple times a year, whenever I can. It's so good. Even my wife really likes this movie a lot, just because of how true to the game it was, So really good. Highly recommend. If you don't own it, you gotta own it. It's really good. Next up is a movie, and I went to try to grab it. It's a movie that I tend to watch around this time of the year. So you have a gap between like Halloween and then Christmas, and then you have Thanksgiving right in the middle. So I tend to watch it around like Thanksgiving time, just kind of in like the bridge of those holidays. And that's Silent Night, Deadly Night. Really good. It's I mean, it's one of those like old school horror movies that your parents would be like, no, you don't watch that. And I remember watching it when I was a kid, or like actually seeing parts of it. Maybe I didn't watch it completely, but I remember being freaked out because it was a killer in a Santa costume. So that was always one of my things, and I made it a point to kind of, I guess, like as a tradition, to watch it in these 3 months, like, you know, October, November, December, like somewhere in that time frame, to watch this movie every year, just because it's just one of those, like. And this one, I remember trying to find this movie when it first came out on DVD, because it was one of those that were, like, it just, I think they never released it. And yeah, this one was a tough one to find. And I remember finding it at a Best Buy somewhere randomly, and I'm sure that they have it on Blu-ray at this point. But yeah, so I always keep this one around just because it kind of means a little something to me, you know, in these holidays. Next up, we have, again, it's like I don't want to call it a horror anthology. I guess it kind of is. It's like two stories. It's based on Edgar Allan Poe stories, and that's Two Evil Eyes. And this is, again, it's much like Creepshow. This one is done by George Romero and Dario Argento. Fantastic freaking movie. Both stories are fantastic. And the special effects are done by Tom Savini as well. Again, Tom Savini and George Romero were like they were like this, you know, they were like tied together in almost everything that they did. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted this so bad. Again, I got it. This one was tough to track down initially when I first got it. And I know they do have, I think they do have like a Blu-ray 4K version of it at this point. But I'll never get rid of this one. This one's so good. And it looks like it does even have like a number right here in the back of how much, I guess how many copies that they put out. You know, so it's really good. It stars Harvey Keitel and Adrienne Barbeau. And so good. I'm gonna say so good so many times because all of these are my favorites. You know, that's again essentially what this video is for. Just giving you my recommendations of some of my favorite films out there, horror films. Next up, we have the first Saw. This is the one on DVD. I got this again when it first came out, and it's still it's still liquidy, as you can see there. It has like the liquid inside of the little thing. Now, I was weird. I remember some DVDs used to come out when they started doing DVDs. Some DVDs came in this weird, like, you know, clear case like this, like almost like a CD case. This one was special though because I got it at a Target, and this one was special because it had the little saw in there, and it had blood that would just, like, you know, like you would squeeze it and it would just go everywhere. The blood is dried up at the bottom at this point, but it's still there. The liquid is still there, which is very weird. And I don't know what it is, but it's so cool. It's so unique again, and it's one of those things where you don't see very often. They don't do stuff like this really anymore. So this is another one that's like it's a must for my collection. I'm not gonna get rid of it at any point. But Saw was again a unique, very interesting movie, and I tend to gravitate towards those because I love horror. I love horror altogether. It's hard sometimes to find a movie that is new, you know, or like has a new premise. Malignant recently was one that I'm like, that was kind of cool. Like, you know, it was a new kind of thing. And coming from the same dude that made Saw. And when this movie came out, I remember being so like enthralled with it. I was like, oh my God, like that's probably the coolest thing that I've ever seen in my life. Like I've never seen a movie like that ever. Now, did they kind of jump the shark a little bit? Yeah, they did going forward, but they were all still really good. Like I love how they did this, pulled the story together, and this is the start of it. And it's just I tend to go back to this one the most, just because I'm like, it was so cool. Like I I don't know what other movie franchise would make you feel like that, like something that you've never seen before in your life, you know. And this is probably one of them. Uh, Next up, we have Day of the Dead. I love Day of the Dead. It may not be a popular choice for a lot of people. For me, it is. It was maybe not the best one in the horror or in the zombie, trilogy of films that George Romero did. Or it's not. It was more than a trilogy now, I think. To be honest, I'm thinking about it. The main trilogy, but it was so good. You got to see a little bit more character development, I think, with this movie. The zombie makeup wasn't the best, but this is the movie though where I feel like it got very interesting as far as special effects, and they try to do more with it and experiment more with it. And a lot of the gags, the special effects gags that you see here, like kind of transferred over to like even like The Walking Dead and stuff like that. Because Greg Nicotero, this is like, I think this was one of his first like big jobs. I think he was on Dawn of the Dead. Man, he was like a teenager. Like, that's crazy to me. But one of my favorite movies. Still, like, I love to watch Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and then Day of the Dead, like kind of in succession, as a trilogy, sometimes. And yeah, and this is a really cool, collector's edition from Shout Factory. Now, I do not have a freaking slipcover for it, which breaks my heart. So if anybody knows where to get a slipcover for this, let me know in the comments. And then next up is also in tandem with this one, the DVD version of Day of the Dead. Now, this is one of my favorites. I believe it's out of print at this point because of, I guess, how unique it is. I haven't seen another one like this in quite a while. A buddy of mine had picked it up for me whenever it first came out. It's all nicely embossed there and stuff, but it has a little Velcro thing here. I hope I don't get demonetized for that. I'm sorry. But you have Dr. Tongue right here in the back. If you guys know, you know. Look it up if you don't. And it comes with a cool, like, little booklet. It looks like a notebook, and it shows all the stuff there. Shows chapter selections. I'm gonna cover that because it's graphic. But yeah, like, this is really, it's a unique edition of this movie. I love this movie so much I had to own it twice. And I like I said, I haven't seen. I tend to see just the regular, basic, like, DVD versions, like, or Blu-ray, like a typical Blu-ray version of this. But I haven't seen this one with the Velcro thing in quite a while. It's really cool, and that's nice to add to the collection as well. Next up, we have The Conjuring, which I love. The Conjuring. I love the Conjuring franchise altogether. But this one does it for me quite a bit. This one was really cool. Again, from the creator of Saw and Insidious. James Wan. He. I don't know if it's him in his mind. He tends to bring forth these, like, really unique stories, and a lot of them are just like, it feels like it's just a ghost story, like you're telling somebody else, but then it goes, like, through the roof. And I love The Conjuring. It's one of those movies where I will watch it, quite a bit, just because how creepy it was, even though I know what to expect now and what's in it. But there's those things sometimes in the background, like in the majority of James Wan horror movies. there tends to be like background stuff. Like if you watch it like 2 or 3 times, oh, you'll notice. You're like, oh my god, like what was that? Like I see something there. And this is one of those as well. So good, freaking amazing. Next up we have Insidious, and again another James Wan movie that, like I just said, this is this has a lot of like rewatch value to it, because you will notice things and see things that you didn't see before the first time, or you'll see like, oh well, this moved here because of this, because something had, like somebody was there. Like it's that kind of thing that I love so much in these kind of movies. Now my family doesn't really like this one specifically very much, because it's very creepy. But I love it. I love, my thing is I love being scared. I love being scared. I love getting scared. When even though, like, okay, say if a movie makes me jump, I'm like, oh my god, like, okay, like, all right, it did its job. Like the movie did its job, because I'm not easily scared, because I've seen it all at this point. I've seen so much horror. Horror is probably one of my favorite genres, and I've seen so much of it that nothing typically surprises me. When something does surprise me, I get excited. Like I'm like, oh my god, that was so good. Like I just want to watch it again. You know, like come on, like bring on the scares. So it's that kind of thing that excites me. Insidious does the job, first and foremost. And then we have the Nightmare on Elm Street collection here. This is on DVD. I don't have the Blu-ray yet. I don't know why I don't, but I've always had this set, which is, I think, is visually amazing. It has some nice artwork on each side, and then the whole set here of all the movies. Freddy Krueger is one of my favorites out there. It's one of those, as horrible as a killer he is in like the first movie, and what he was projected, or he was anyway. They made him into a comedy act towards the other movies, and I was kind of like, I got into it, because I'm like, all right, cool, he's gonna make fun of you and do something silly before he kills you. And that to me got me. I was like, okay, cool, like it's not this weird guy that does horrible things. I mean, he does do horrible things, but you know what I mean. But yeah, so it has all the sets, all the movies here in this set. And I remember getting this. I remember being I don't know, maybe I was like 12 or 13, or maybe something like that. And I was like, man, all I want for my birthday is just this box set of Nightmare on Elm Street when it first came out. And my mom went and she actually got it for me. And I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. And I had a movie marathon on my birthday with all my friends. And we watched I think maybe almost all of the Nightmare on Elm Street series just in that day. So that's cool. That means a lot to me, and I will never sell it or get rid of it or whatever. And then lastly, we have Friday the 13th. Now, Friday the 13th, again, is one of my favorite franchises as well. It has its hits and misses, but mainly hits. And it's so good. I have watched these movies over and over and over, and I tend to make sure that anytime it's become a tradition with me that anytime Friday the 13th happens throughout the year, even if it's once, twice, whatever, whenever that day comes, I at least watch one Friday the 13th movie that day. It's almost like an OCD kind of thing, maybe. I don't know, but I have to, even if it's like 11 o'clock at night, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't watched Friday the 13th today. And I have to do it. It's just always been a thing since, I don't know, like, the Joe Bob Briggs days, Monster Vision and stuff like that. Yeah, I've always done it. And I will always continue to do it. And when my son gets old enough to watch some of these horror movies, I'm gonna have him do it as well, because it feels appropriate. I'll say that. I don't know. I was gonna say it feels good. No, it just feels appropriate to watch Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th. But yeah, I mean, so good. And this has all the movies here. Probably one of my favorite is 7th. The 6th and 7th are the ones that I think are my favorite out of the set, out of the whole franchise. Jason X, honestly, I've come to kind of appreciate Jason X a little bit more over the years. Not my favorite still, but it's great for what it is. It's just, again, sometimes you need to have like that big dumb fun kind of movie, out there. Even it could be cheesy as hell and whatever, as long as it's a good gory horror movie, and helps you like smile and pass the time or whatever. That's what kind of gets me. And I've come to appreciate, like I said, Jason X a little bit more. Freddy vs. Jason, one of my favorites as well, because you have two people that are like iconic. I mean, come on, I'm like, literally, this is my life. Like, these are the characters that I grew up watching when I was younger, and seeing them go head to head made me smile. I still remember there was I've waited so long. I had waited so long to see them go head to head, right? And I was at the movie theater and I was like, man, like I cannot wait to watch Freddy versus Jason. And I was waiting in line, long line to go in, and somebody comes out. The previous showing had ended. Somebody's coming out, and they gave away the whole ending of the movie as they were walking out, and everybody was pissed, like so mad. So that's also another reason why when I watch a movie at the theater or whatever, I always make sure I'm like, don't talk to me, like don't say anything, don't talk about the movie until we're in the car, so that way we can talk in private and it doesn't ruin anything for anybody else. I hate ruining somebody's theater experience. So that's all I got for you guys in this video. Hopefully, if you guys have not seen any of these movies, you guys take my recommendation and things like that. If you guys want to see another video kind of similar to this with more recommendations, because I could talk about horror movies until the end of days probably. If you guys want to see another video, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Please give this video a big thumbs up. If you dug it or found it informative in any way, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well, because I will be coming back with more videos as always. And with all that being said, we'll catch you next time.